Well, good morning. I'm Jim Moore, and you are watching Words of Encouragement. This is a special edition this morning. It's episode number 776, Monday, July 7th. This is an update about the floods that have been happening here in Texas. So thank you for joining me this morning. So if you're watching this on Rumble or YouTube, please take the time when you're finished with the program to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified and shared and all that good stuff. It really helps the channel. We appreciate it so much. So this is day number 4. Good morning, Jean. Yeah, try to come on, say hello. I will say hello back unless I am so fixated on what I'm saying that I forget to look at the screen. I am going to be looking over at my laptop quite a bit this morning because I want to get out as much technical information as I can. And I get rolling sometimes and forget. So, Linda, God bless you. Nice to have you on this morning. So it's been 4 days since actually it's been more than that. So let's see, Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning. No, 4 days. And there's the lovely Linda Moore. God bless you. I love you. So some of this program today is going to be personal. We're going to talk a little bit about ourselves and how we're faring in all this, which will be a very small amount, but we also want to talk about the area. And I really wanted to do a ministry program on identity because I think that is such an important issue right now. But I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get into this and I won't have time. So look for that, hopefully in the near future. And again, please comment and say hello to each other and take the time to do that. That helps wake up the algorithms and it literally allows other people to watch the program. There are barriers in place that you can bring down through your involvement. Good morning, Jen. Nice to have you this morning. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I want to talk about what has happened, what is happening, and what is likely to happen in the future. And again, I'm going to give you a lot of facts and figures and also stuff from my heart because I believe the most important thing is to garner the heart of God and understand how he feels about these things so that we can be in agreement with him, because it doesn't matter how much you know if you do not know the heart of God and have agreement with that. But I'll get into that more. Excuse me. So yes, it's still raining. This all started, hi Jan, this all started last Friday morning. And I'm going to tell you about a pretty powerful experience I had with the Lord that has affected me in a great way. So I've had a couple of them, but one of them really profound. So Friday morning, I was up in the early wee hours of the morning. I don't exactly remember when, but it was still dark outside. And as not to disturb anyone in our home, I get in my car typically, and I go someplace. It's what I fondly call my mobile prayer room, and I'm praying and seeking the Lord, and there's just a weightiness on me. And, life can do that. Sometimes that's just nothing more than your own emotions. But this morning was a little bit different, or that morning, Friday morning, I was just feeling a heaviness on my heart. And, my tendency, and I know some of you are like this too, my tendency is to internalize that, to think there's something wrong with me. You know what I'm saying? This is part of what I want to talk about today that I think is so important on how to navigate crises and difficulties and so on in the world that we're in today. But I'll get into that in a minute. But the idea that everything is about us, everything is about me and my stuff and how I feel and so on and so on. Thank you, Linda. Go ahead and say hello to each other. So immediately I began to wonder and question if it was about me. And I actually never got a word from the Lord on it, which I'm sad to say. I would have loved to have know something has happened and been a little bit more prophetically minded and heard the Lord, because he'll do this. I'm not beating myself up over it, but I just never did come to understand. I basically left my prayer time after an hour or two or whatever, just with that same heaviness and not having an answer. Well, it didn't take long as I went into the day to find out what had happened. I'm not going to give you every statistic about. Most of you know by now what's been going on with the flooding, so I'm going to assume that you know some stuff, as not to make this excessively long today. But it didn't take long for me to find out that the Guadalupe River, and you should look up the word Guadalupe. It's interesting. Okay, that's all I'll say right now. But the Guadalupe River had rapidly overflowed its banks. As a matter of fact, one of my and there's this thing in Facebook where it says your story. Most of you are aware of that. It's usually up at the top. Hey, Bob, up at the top of the person's page. Anyway, one of the stories that I posted, it showed a time-lapse picture over an hour taking the Guadalupe River, where it was basically not a dry riverbed, but pretty darn close. Hi, Kirsty, God bless you. To complete flood stage. And it is amazing. It is definitely qualified as a flash flood, but I don't know about you. When I think of a flash flood, I tend to think of a little creek somewhere with, all of a sudden a larger amount of water comes in, but not like this, not like, I don't know, half a mile or a mile wide. So it was a flash flood of biblical proportions, okay? So it overcame things very quickly. And what you have had is people all along the river, and some of you probably already know this, but you have summer camps. I think I've heard various numbers, and I want to say this real quick about this program. I'm going to give you numbers. Numbers always are fluctuating. People hear one thing, an hour later it's a different number. You understand. So don't say, well, Jim said it was this number, and I heard Fox News say it was this number. Okay, go with the latest stuff. You know this. But I heard like 18 or so summer camps. I think that's a low number. In other words, along the Guadalupe River, there are dotted a number of summer camps for kids specifically. The one that you're hearing the most about is Mystic Summer Camp. It's a very old Christian camp. It's been around for decades, and it is a Christian all-girl camp. Okay, not going to go into that anymore, but that's the one and this typically happens in a crisis. They'll focus, like what happened on the East Coast in the Carolinas. They'll kind of focus on the hardest hit area and the most devastated. I mean, that's just the way they do it. Right or wrong, that's just what happens. But I just want you to know there are many summer camps that were washed away, okay? So what you're hearing in Mystic, and I'm going to give you a couple stats on that, that's just one of many, okay? In addition to the summer camps, there were a large number of RV, spots or camps or whatever you want to call it, RV, because again, along the river, okay, here in Texas, those rivers are dotted with homes, RV spots, and summer camps, to mention just a few. In all of those categories, there were individuals and property washed away, okay? So the figures that you're hearing are over that broad kind of a thing. All right, so here's a few stats real quick. As far as this morning, I think I put down 80 people have perished. And then I read something else here 5 minutes ago. It's like 82. So again, the numbers are climbing. They'll probably continue to climb. All right. And listen, we don't want to be morbidly fascinated with numbers and stuff. If one person dies, that's too many. All right. And part of this program today is to get you to identify. My goal is to get you to somewhat identify with these people, because that's what I believe God wants you to do. It's not just about the crisis itself. It's about the people. It's always about the people. All right, so 80 dead, 40 plus are unaccounted for. The search and rescue teams that are happening right now are working diligently, and they're doing both finding bodies, they're sending out cadaver dogs and so on. They're finding those who have perished. You got to understand, when these floods came, they take people downstream, sometimes as much as, good morning, Hazel, 20, 40, even 100 miles. These massive water systems just keep going until they reach the ocean. Typically what will happen is people that are washed away, there'll be lulls in the river that will cause the person or the car or whatever to kind of gradually float off to the side. So they wind up being on the banks of this river somewhere. So it's a massive effort. And I'm going to ask you to pray. Good morning, Isaiah, my good friend. I'm going to ask you to pray for the people, and I know you know this, but it bears repeating. Pray for the families who have lost little girls, moms and dads, grandpas. Okay? I'm going to tell you about my experience I had in just a minute. Pray for the responders, the people, and these are a lot of different groups. And I love this about Texas. There's not a lot of this infighting and, well, you do your thing and we'll do ours. And everybody seems to be working together. It's really phenomenal. It's exactly, in my opinion, for the most part, the way a state ought to run itself when there's a crisis. They're all working together. The police officer, the state police, the firemen, the ambulances, and then the volunteers. And instead of telling the volunteers to stay away like some states I know, they're actually encouraging it. They actually have more volunteers now than they know what to do with, and supplies and resources. It is amazing. Mark, God bless you. Nice to have you. All right, so at least 80 dead, 40 some unaccounted for. That means the ones they haven't found. Now, they have rescued about 800. Well, I heard the last number, 850 people. And we're talking about people clinging to trees, people in their vehicles, people who got washed up on the shore alive and have been sitting on the shoreline 20 miles downstream waiting to be kids. Again, the camp that you've heard the most about is the Mystic Camp, and again, it's just one. I think they've had they had 47 alone just in that camp that have perished. Counselors who jumped in to save girls. Let me give you just a little bit of context. I know some of you guys know this, but it again bears repeating. We're talking about just one camp, and then you could take this and multiply it. This one girls' camp had about 750 people at the camp, as far as I know. They had this flood came within 45 minutes. Okay, feature this in your mind. Within 45 minutes, the river came from being a little bit swollen because there had been some rain to I've heard as much as 26 feet over, raised 26 feet. Now that's a lot. I mean, that's more than you'll hear most of the time with any flood. 26 feet. And it happened, listen to me now, in 45 minutes. And it happened, listen now, at 4 o'clock in the morning. Where would you be at 4 o'clock in the morning? Well, you're sleeping. These little 6, 8, 9-year-old girls and their teenage counselors and the people that run just this one camp were literally asleep in their beds. And this flood that rushed in washed them out of their bunks. It's just hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine. 45 minutes. That's right, Kirsty. 45 minutes. So it's horrifying. So I want you to think again about the moms and dads first. And I don't mean to set priorities here, but mom and dads. Those who have lost husbands and wives. Okay, I want you to think about the people. And I'm going to give you a strong warning here in a minute, and I pray to God that you take the time to listen, because I believe it is the heart of God, and I'm going to tell you why, okay? But again, Texas has, I am so glad for the leadership of this state. I know they do stupid stuff, all leaders do, but they do a lot of good stuff. And I think the most important thing is that they are sincere, godly Christian men and women. I have never been so proud. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick came on right away. Our governor was traveling. I'm forgetting his name. I don't know why I always do that. Somebody can put in his name. Was traveling, so Lieutenant Governor, Assistant Governor stood. I was so proud of him while asking for prayer. Mentioned God a number of times, which almost everybody does. But here's the cliche. Are you ready for this? The cliche is, you're in our thoughts and prayers, which means almost nothing to a lot of people. Some people it does. I'm not trying to be critical, but when I think of prayer and when you think of prayer, it's different than just the pardon me, I don't mean to be negative, but the culture that doesn't know God. Okay, Governor Abbott, thank you, honey. I don't know why I have a hard time with his name. But Patrick, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick he said, we need your prayers. We need God. I don't know how many times he said it in that very first interview, that public broadcast. And then he stopped. And this is what I appreciated. And this is the kind of leadership. Those Christians who say leadership doesn't matter, well, we're not supposed to be involved in politics. We don't really care about that, blah, blah, blah. We just sing Kumbaya and tell people how much Jesus loves them. That's shameful. Well, we don't believe in shame. Well, actually, there are things in the Bible that says you should be ashamed of. Anyway, won't go down that road because I'm going to lose some friends over some of the things I say today. But Dan said it this way. He said, we need you to pray like really pray. I'm not quoting him exactly. He said, we need the get down on your knees kind of prayer. Now, this is not the words of somebody that doesn't pray or doesn't really know the Lord. He said, we need you as Texans to get on your knees and pray. And I would broaden that to everybody. Hi, Tanya. Love you. But in other words, he's saying, don't just say our thoughts and prayers are with you, like, okay, that's really great. But what we really need are people who will pray. I mean, get down on your knees, take 5 minutes out of your super busy day, be concerned about someone other than yourself, and actually pray for them. And you know what? It's okay to shed some tears. I think we Christians have got to the place that anytime we feel bad about anything, we think sometimes that's not God. And actually it is God. He said to weep. We've forgotten this. Weep with those who weep. It is okay to feel bad when something bad has happened to someone. Do you think the Lord just goes, hey, don't worry about, and again, I'm not trying to be cynical. I'm really not. I'm just saying some of these concepts that have developed over time need to be brought down. I'm not talking about living in just this mournful doom scrolling thing all the time. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm also not talking about giving no time to feeling someone else's pain. Okay? So pray for the police officers, the servicemen, the girls on horses, teenage girls on horses going up and down the river with the grisly, gruesome work of finding a little 8-year-old girl's dead body. I know, and I could get bounced for this, but I don't care. It needs to be said. All right. So I know my kids are probably right now just going, Dad, calm down. No, you know what? I think sometimes we become desensitized as a culture. And I think we need to be smacked in the face once in a while, just, and I know that doesn't make me popular and I'm going to lose friends. But I'm asking you to pray for these guys. Now, there are a couple of links that I put on here that can give you an update if you're interested in watching them. I think they're good. So there's still rain falling in the area, and there are still warnings being given. Most of you, and I'm going to get to my experiences, hang on a minute. Most of you saw our post about our neighbor. And again, I'm about to say something that I don't mean it as a pun, but this strikes home, okay? Literally a lightning strike. So 100 feet from my house, right across the street, I open my back door and I can see the front door of my neighbor. I won't tell you their names because I don't know if they want that. But I talked to them from my back door, just, like two neighbors used to do, And their house was struck by lightning. Okay, it was struck by lightning and literally started their attic and their roof on fire. So pray for them. They now are living in a motel, or not a motel, at a friend's place and all that. But pray for them. You don't have to know their name. God knows their name. But pray for them. But this struck home to me. The strike struck home to me. Okay. Now, I'd already been feeling the weightiness of these moms and dads and these people. Hey, Jerry. Hi, Sunday. I am seeing your comments. I'm sorry, I just don't have time to comment on them. But thank you for commenting back and forth and talking to each other. I really appreciate it. It does help wake up the algorithm. So I'm already feeling this heaviness. And then this happens right across the street. I mean, sometimes, a Christian, listen to me. Sometimes we don't get touched by something unless it directly affects us. And it should directly affect us. And I understand there are stuff going on all over the world. Every country, every community, every people group, you cannot possibly bear the burdens of everyone. But there are times when a situation is elevated in such a way that it touches your heart. And listen to me now. It's supposed to. Don't make yourself not think about it. Because we do this. Well, I just can't handle it. Yeah, you can. You want to be like Jesus? We can't handle it the same way he does. But the Bible says that when our brother or sister hurts, we're supposed to hurt with them. And again, you can't do it for everybody. I understand that. But there are some things that get elevated and you're starting to feel it. Don't convince yourself that it's bad for you to shed a tear. Weep with those that weep. Okay, the Bible says to rejoice with those that rejoice too. And we got plenty of opportunities to do that. But it is okay to feel someone else's pain. All right, let me tell you about this thing that happened to me. Hang in there. And I forgot to say there are a lot of staging areas around the area. There's one here local to us. Hundreds. I love this about Texas. I love the leadership. And then Pastor Abbott, Governor Abbott has gotten on and said the same thing. We will not stop searching until every single one of these drowning victims have been found. I love that. Okay. And they're praying. And also volunteers. I've never seen the amount of volunteers. I went down yesterday to a place called the Ark, and there's a thing in here about that. I'll get to that in a minute. But incredible. And the government is not telling people not to volunteer. They're asking. In other words, you've seen different places where they don't want the churches to have a part. Okay. That's the devil's work, to keep the churches away. Okay. Mark it down. That's Satan's work. Here, it's the opposite of that. Even though now they have so many, like the chest in the Old Testament that got so full of money they didn't know what to do with it all. All right, but they still need help. Okay, but the volunteers they have said. So I want to tell you about this experience that I had, and I'll make it really short. But after I found out about the floods, so not Friday morning, but I think it was like Friday afternoon or maybe Saturday morning, I don't remember. But I'm sitting in my car and I'm praying. You got to pay attention to the thought processes because you are Christian filled with the Holy Spirit. Everyone you watching right now, if you're a believer and you sincerely love and follow Jesus, not just love him with your, I love him with all my heart, but I live like hell and the devil. No, if you really love him enough to do, you're following him, doing what he says, okay, you need to pay attention when you think things and feel things and ask yourself, it's the Lord. So I'm sitting in my car and a thought comes to my mind of an experience of a man of God who went to heaven, and he was able to see a group of Christians in a small church. How many of you guys go to a small church? Raise your hand, okay? God's not in the big, God's not in the small. What God is in is sincere people who have come together to love and worship the Lord and each other. Okay, so he was looking at this man of God in his heavenly experience down on a little church. And this little church was broken. No, God is not in the broken church. Yeah, you're wrong I'm sorry, you're wrong. Okay, and it was full of a whole bunch of Christians who were having all kinds of problems, but they were worshiping the Lord. Now hear me. They were worshiping the Lord. Their hands were up in the air. They were doing their best through their own problems. Okay? Do you know what problems tend to do? They tend to make you self-centered. Thinking about yourself, talking about yourself, praying about yourself, and complaining about your situation. Are you listening to me? Say, yes, Papa Jim, I'm listening all the time. Okay? That's Satan's goal for your problems, is to cause you to be ingrown eyeballs, always navel gazing. You can write those down. Always looking at yourself. It's always me, and my. Some people on their postings, they never talk about anything but themselves. That's a bad sign. Anyway, so, and I'm not saying I don't do that at times. I have plenty of times that I'm like self-absorbed. But I don't agree with it. Anyway, so I'm sitting in there worshiping the Lord, and this comes to my mind about how God, in this man's experience, was moved. Listen to me now. God was moved by people in their brokenness worshiping him. Now, just real quick, here's the principle. Everybody worships God in heaven, okay? It's easy to worship God here on earth when everything is going your way. But you know what moves the heart of God even more? I think he's moved every time we worship, for sure, 100%, good or bad. But you know what moves his heart? I believe, according to this man's vision and the scripture, it says he is near to the brokenhearted. And when we, through our pain, worship the Lord and give thanks to him, even though we don't understand, even though we do it through tears, it moves his big heart. Trust me when I tell you it does. And that came to me while I was sitting there worshiping. And the thought came to me, God, I bet these parents who've lost, and I use the little girls because that's what moves my heart so much. These little girls who were swept out of their bunks at 4 o'clock in the morning, never to be seen again, some of them. Okay, and thank God some of them have been rescued. If you follow my postings, you'll see that. But I cannot even imagine the pain that those moms, if it were one of my little grandkids or my son or daughters when they were young, I would be so devastated. And I said, Lord, there's no way those parents, how could those parents possibly lift up their hands and worship you? They're probably angry with you. They're probably really, really broken. And how could, because in times like that, it makes you question everything. Satan has a goal during those times, and that's to make you fall away, 100%, okay? There's no ambiguity about that. Satan's goal when tragedy happens is to cause you to fall away. Get angry at God, get angry at yourself, blame others, whatever. You get what I'm saying. Satan's goal, God's goal, on the other hand, is to do the opposite, even though it's a long process. Anyway, so I'm saying that to the Lord. I know I'm going long. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make this short. I'm saying that to the Lord. Good morning, Trudy. And I said, Lord, it just came to me. I'm not pointing at myself here at all, but it just came to me. And I started telling the Lord, I said, God, I want to worship you on behalf of those moms and dads who've lost their kids, who cannot do it right now. I want to worship on same way we intercede on the behalf of others sometimes when they just can't pray themselves. You know what it says? Somebody's sick. They really don't have a lot of faith to pray for their own healing or to quote scripture and all that. So what does it say? It says, if you're sick, call for someone else who is in a position to do that. It's like this surrogate prayer. They're praying on your behalf. And so I was worshiping the Lord on their behalf. And as I did that, now here's the point of all this. I experienced something I've never. Yeah, you can. Your heart can't handle it. You can. Now, on our own, somebody just said that their heart can't handle it. I get that. And I'm empathetic towards that. I'm not calloused, okay? I cry at the drop of a hat, okay? But don't tell yourself you can't. When you tell yourself you can't and believe that, I get why you're saying that. I really do. And I don't mean to point you out. But the truth is, I can do all things through Christ, okay? I can't do any of these things without him. But I can do all of them with him, okay? So you got to tell yourself, I can in myself, but I can through him. And I'm sure that's what you meant. All right. So I experienced something I never experienced in my life. Suddenly, hang in there with me, suddenly I don't even, it's hard to explain this because it just seems weird. But I know for about 1 minute, I felt the pain. Jesus feels your pain, right? You might say, nobody knows my pain, and you could be right. There may be nobody in the world that knows what you're going through because they're not you, except one. Listen to me, Christian. We either believe this stuff. We got to quit, saying we believe it and not believe it. We do believe it. He does. We do not have a high priest that cannot be touched by the feelings of our infirmities, our pains, our suffering, our agony. So Jesus feels it. And I believe he allowed me to feel those moms and dads' pain for a very short amount of time. It was different than the compassion I'd felt before, than the sorrow I'd felt before. And listen, it came in the context of me worshiping God on their behalf. All right, now why did I say all that? Because I think one of the most important issues when a crisis happens, now listen to me. Many of you are watching from the West Coast. We've had our share on the West Coast of natural disasters or other disasters, and they're not going to end anytime soon. I know that's so negative, Jim. Listen, I don't care if it sounds negative or positive. I only care about the truth, okay? We have so idolized encouragement and positivity that we have gotten to where we refuse to talk about anything else. And I'm not saying you should focus on it all the time, but by golly, when it's happening, and we need to mourn and weep with those who weep and laugh with those who laugh, okay? All right, so if you live in Salem, in Texas, whatever, listen to me close, this is very important. The community you live in is your responsibility. Now listen to me. I don't care if you don't feel like it is. It is. Say, Jim, you're being really harsh again. Okay, I'm going to say it again. The community you live in is your responsibility. The church that God has placed you in. See, many people today don't like to go to a church and really commit to being a part of that body because there comes a responsibility with that. So they'll just come in and sit on the back row and kind of be spiritually entertained and edified and lifted up. And then maybe they'll go somewhere the next week. That's not what God wants for you. I'm telling you right now. You may be in a season of that for a while. I get that. But you need to commit to a body with all of their problems and all of their issues. I get people telling me all the time, well, this church has this problem, and they don't speak out against this, and they don't do that, and I don't, blah, 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 blah. So you give yourself a hall pass, and you never go. And you go to one, and you get what I'm saying. All right, but I want to talk about your community. Listen now. I'm going to lose friends over this, I know it. If God has placed you in a community, I don't care if it's Texas, Washington, D.C., California, Oregon, Salem, it doesn't matter. If God has placed you in a community, you have with that placement a responsibility to that community, bar none, no excuses. I know everyone's situation is different. You don't understand what I've gone through. I get it. But God isn't about to change his word for me or for you. Okay? You have responsibility for that community. Now, at what level? That's between you and God. That changes with every person. But listen, okay. You know what? People don't like to be corrected. I found this in 40 years of ministry. As long as you agree with people and tell them how great they are and that you love them, and you should do that a lot, everything's great. But the moment you correct them, I've had people come up to me over the years, pastoring churches, and say, Pastor, tears, literally. I remember one man specifically crying his eyes out. I need a shepherd. I need correction. I need someone, please, please. And he was begging me, and sincere, begging me. If I ever do something that you see is, I'm losing people, I'm watching them go away. I know, this is why we don't like this. We don't want this, okay? He says, if you ever see me and I need correction, please don't hesitate to do it. And I asked him, I said, do you really want me to do that? Because most people go away after that. Most people get offended. They get angry with you. They think you don't like them or you're mean to them. And it really doesn't matter how much you say it in love. And if you don't think that's true, look at the life of Jesus. He went around loving people and kissing babies and healing people and speaking. But as soon as he says something that they didn't like eat my flesh and drink my blood, it says most of them went away. We, as humans, don't like to be corrected. We do not like it, and we tend to shy away from it. So when I have the audacity to go online and tell you, you may have a wrong attitude about something. Okay. All right. Enough of that. So after having this experience, this is the correction part, if you have the courage to listen. This will not apply to many of you, but to some of you. And I'm not saying who it will or won't. I'm not judging you at all. That's up to you. But here's what I need to say. And this is uber specific about crisis, okay? When a crisis happens, you call yourself a first responder, okay? I am a first responder. God's people should be first, and I don't mean necessarily driving an ambulance, but I mean in the spirit, we are the first responders, okay? We are supposed to bear the heart of God and feel what he feels. And I'm going to tell you what he feels. When a crisis happens, you're welcome. Thank you, Isaiah. It's good to hear somebody say that. What is your default when a crisis happens? Now I'm going to challenge you. What is your default when a crisis happens? Let me tell you what I believe Jesus' default is. It is feeling the pain of the people. It is not the crisis itself. Okay? It is not the issue itself at hand. The car wreck, the flooding, the war in Ukraine. And some of you might remember when that broke out, I said the same message, and I'm going to say it every time because it's so important. Your first response should be the response of God's heart, and God's heart is compassion. Now, let me just tell you why I'm saying this. Almost immediately, and I've gotten to where I look for this now. First things first. Almost immediately, people will start sending information to me. I don't like to use the word conspiracy theories, but some of them are theoretical. When I say the word conspiracy theory, I know I've said this a million times, but you need to get in your spirit. It's actually two words, and they have distinct meanings. What is a conspiracy? The word's in the Bible. It means to conspire. It means when two or more people are making a plan for something, to do something, to say something, whatever. They are conspiring together. We always think of it as negative, but it's not necessarily always negative, but most of the time, yes. Conspiracy is when people are conspiring. A theory, okay, you all know what a theory is? It means you're guessing, okay? The theory of relativity, it goes from being a theory to being, concrete. Not going to get into that. So you are theorizing that people are conspiring to do something, okay? Now, of late, we have found that many of our things that we have wondered or called or been accused of being conspiracy theories have proved out to be conspiracy facts. In other words, there actually were people conspiring. And what they were doing wasn't, after all, a theory, but it turned out to be a fact. So I'm not against that, because some of you may be watching this, have already done this to me, and I'm not rebuking you. I'm just saying we need to check ourselves about our default. Now, some of this has happened because of all the political upheaval and the social upheaval and all the demonic craziness that's happened in our country and in our world, and is still going on. Okay, so I get it that we want to expose the darkness, but listen to me. Let me use this illustration. There's a time and a place for everything. You've heard the phrase, first things first. Okay, please listen closely. Let's say there's a car wreck, okay? One person is at fault in the car wreck. Maybe they're a drunk driver. Maybe they ran a red light. Who knows? Okay. Two cars collide. Bodies thrust out of the vehicles on both cars. They're laying on the pavement and they're bleeding out. I know that's a gross picture, but I want you to know. I've actually come up on scenes like this. Okay. What is the first thing that you do when there is a calamity that you are witnessing? That's right. You go up to the bleeding, you go up to the broken, you say, are you all right? In other words, friend, listen, please. Do you think if Jesus came up on a scene like that, the first thing he would do is come in and say, it's his fault, and this person, and start exposing. Okay, I'm going to say it again because I know right now I'm going to get some feedback. Well, yeah, but what about that? Okay, listen. I'm not disagreeing. Okay, I had to block someone over this the other day because no matter how many times I said this, they refused to get it. We get so locked in our position sometimes that we refuse to listen to reason or correction. Do you think Jesus would walk up to and do that? No. The first thing is to take care of the broken, the wounded, the hurting, the fallen. Listen, I'm not against exposing evil that sometimes is behind things. Now, I'm specifically talking about the issue of weather modification. I know some of you still think this is a myth. It's not. I've watched congressmen talk about it. People, not crazy people, okay? Congressmen. There is a massive amount of evidence of weather manipulation through various entities have been going on for a long time. So immediately I'm getting stuff about, this is HARP, this is DARPA, this is the government, this is this. And that all might be true, okay? So please, one more time, let me just say it. For those of you that are already starting to feel rebuked and you're starting to recoil and you want to write something down right this very second about, but what about this and this and this? Stop. There are people involved. There will be time to expose the darkness. I'm not talking about either or. I'm talking about first things first. I'm talking about there are people that are dead and dying. Okay? You get what I'm saying? Now listen. Now some of you might already be thinking, well, I can't do anything about that. Okay, all right. I'm talking about a heart default. Do you feel compassion? Now, I'm not judging you because I don't know your heart. You get what I'm saying? I don't know. I have no idea where your heart is. I'm giving a broad statement, and you get to figure out where you're at with that. Thanks, hey, honey. Thank you. Hey, Sean. God bless. Is your default to immediately look for who caused this? Well, it was weather modification. I get it. Okay? I'm going to say like I told this man the other day, he immediately, not a word about the victims, not a word. And I promise you that man never even prayed about those people at all. Because he was too busy trying to tell me who was to blame for it. And I actually want to know that. I really do. And I believe God will use people to expose ungodly conspiracies and activities. I totally believe that. I believe that with all my heart. You guys who have been watching me know I believe it because it's true. That's what I care about. I care about the truth. Okay? If it's true, I want to know about it. But I'm too busy bandaging up that person that's bleeding from the car wreck to worry about who's at fault right now. Now, why am I saying this? I'm not trying to put a ribbon in my own hair. I'm just saying Christians, many Christians, and I talk mostly to Christians on this program, this is now their default. You never hear them go pray for these people. You never hear them go, my heart is broken for these people. You never hear them go, how can I help? Jim, how can I help? Is there something I can, how should we be praying? It's always default to those other things. All right, so enough of that. I hope you understand the heart of why I'm saying this. I'm not angry about it. I'm not trying to rebuke everybody. I'm just saying, check your heart. Is what you're doing what Jesus would do? In the beginning, at first, when they're bleeding, when they're hurting, when they're dying, when the moms and dads are crushed to the point that they are considering taking their own life. And some of them, listen, will backslide because of this. Okay? Do you feel for them at all? All right, that's all I'm saying. If you will be honest with yourself and go, you know what? That's not my default. Don't beat yourself up either. Just go to God and say, God, help me. All right, let me go on and I'm going to finish up. Let me talk about what you can do. Okay, I'm getting, I don't know if I'm getting hot or anointed. All right. Hey guys, thanks for sticking with me. I know this has taken a little bit of time. And thank you for those of you who are so good about commenting and sharing. One of the things, we will continue to do these programs on YouTube Live, but I felt like I needed to get as many people as possible. And right now, the 1,000 people that'll see this, only about 50 or so will watch it on YouTube. So I felt the need to really get it out there. But thank you for those of you who watch. I know there's a lot of stuff that you could be listening to. I appreciate that you have some confidence in me. So, so here's what you can do. Now, you know this. I've said it many, many times. I'm dealing with some mindsets here. Because if you tell yourself there's nothing you can do, you will do nothing. Somebody write that down. If you tell yourself, or even in your brain believe, if you tell yourself there's nothing you can do, you will do nothing. That's why Satan wants you to believe that. And I'm going to tell you right now, for 99.999% of you, there is always, write the word always, there is always something you can do. But here's the tendency we have as human beings. Anybody write that down? Here's the tendency I have, and you have, as human beings. We think the big is the most important. I do it, you do it, okay? Maybe you're better than me. The nature of a human being is to think they want to do something significant, something valuable. You remember the story of the starfish, where there's thousands of starfish? There we go, my baby did it. And then there's Linda Atherton, thank you. If you tell yourself nothing you can do, you'll do nothing. That's right. I'm challenged with this. Okay? You may just think I'm just like picking on you. I'm not. I'm picking on me. I'm saying this is how we as humans think. So the starfish analogy. Guys walk along the beach, thousands of starfish. Thank you, Chris. You have washed up on the beach. He picks one up, looks at it, tosses it in the ocean. Goes along the beach, picks another one up, reels back, tosses it in the ocean. Somebody is watching him do this. Okay? Which person are you? Okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm not being mean. Which person are you? Person watching comes up to the person, semi-disgusted, thinks that he's smarter than the other person. Okay? His default is criticism. His default is criticism. Are you listening to me? Okay? We all do it sometimes. He says, what are you doing? To the guy throwing the starfish in the ocean. What are you doing? There are thousands of starfish here. You can't possibly make a difference. You hear Yeah. Okay. He said, this is his final word. He said, what you're doing doesn't matter. This is what we think. What you're doing doesn't matter. And the man picks up a starfish and shows it to the man, puts it right up in his face, and he says, it matters to this one. It matters to this one. One person. Now, is this bore out in the Bible? Yes, it is. 7 loaves and 2 fishes. We would go, Johnny, just eat your lunch. That's not really going to make a dent. Hear that? A dent. What are we saying? We're saying unless it's big, it really, it's just not. Okay. God, because see, it's not your talent that will make a difference in someone. It's not your money that makes a difference. It's not how much or how little. It's God. God gets on what you do. We have got to get this. You can't measure what you should do by how big of an impact you think you're going to make. How dare you? How dare me? God gets on what you do. Now, the boy that gave the loaves and the fishes, he got to see what happened. But what about another time Jesus said, are you still with me? I can see when I lose people. Okay, it's depressing. All right, what about the story of the widow woman? She put in, I think it was a half a farthing, which equals like 2 pennies or something. Nothing. We throw pennies away. I find them in parking lots all the time. We think, we're going to get rid of pennies in our society because we think they don't matter. You know what Jesus said? This is his way of thinking. That's different than yours and mine. When will we understand? The heavens, as high as the heavens are above the earth, so high are my thoughts above the earth. He doesn't think like we think. And if we keep agreeing with our thoughts instead of breaking our agreement with him, and if we don't start agreeing with how he thinks, we are doomed to stay the same. So what did Jesus say when the widow woman threw in a couple pennies? He said, this woman, now listen, Jesus, it doesn't lie. He wasn't being metaphoric or cute or just saying, oh, isn't she great? Look at this little old lady. What a wonderful. No, he was speaking the unabashed, unequivocal, undeniable truth. She has cast in more than they all. The rich guy who put in $1 million. The widow who put in 2 pennies. Jesus said she gave more than he did. Why? Because what can be accomplished through the gift is up to God. Just because somebody throws $1 million at something, you know what? Tomorrow it could be gone. Only God, who is eternal, can establish something into eternity. Did you hear what I said? It is God who gets on the gift and makes the difference, not us. I might sing a song in the most broken notes, and God can use that or not, depending on his will. So what does he say? He says, just do what you can do. Remember the story of the guys who had this is a parable of the people that had talents, okay? Now, we think talents are like America's Got Talent and how I can sing or how I can preach or how I can ride a bicycle or stand on my head and breathe fire. No. I mean, yes, but no. The original word for talent was a piece of money. He's talking about money. Do you realize? I'll do a Joseph Biden. Hey. No, sorry. That was cynical. Do you realize it's not your money? Now, I know we say we know that. I have to remind myself once in a while. This desk I'm sitting at, this computer, this phone, the earth is the Lord's. And, I'm glad he added this part, everything in it. Okay? These little knickknacks I have sitting on my thing, this little hanky, the clothes on my back, it all belongs to him. Graciously, he allows us to own some things, and if we're willing to be a channel, that's right, that's how we feel, isn't it, babe? To be a channel to distribute what belongs to him into someone else's need. It's not either or, it's both and, okay? He channels some of his some of his resources to you, okay? And he channels some of them through you to others. It's not your money. Your talent, if you are a singer, it's not your talent. Don't you understand that could go tomorrow? You could get some kind of a hoarse throat and whatever, and it'll be gone tomorrow. Do you understand we are all getting older, and sometimes those things that we used to be able to do, we can't even do anymore? We've got to recognize and confess and act like we not just say we believe, but actually believe that money belongs to God. My time belongs to God. I'm going to go down to that ARC Resource Center, not give myself a ribbon here, but this convicts me. I get tired of talking about wanting to help and then actually never doing it. We've got to get out of our comfort zone once in a while. All right, so every one of you, if you are watching this program right now and you haven't shut me up because I'm being mean, there's something you can do. The fact that you don't think there is shows that there's a problem in our thinking. You get what I'm saying? Stop thinking you can't, start thinking you can, and saying, now all I got to do is discover what that is. I'll make it easy for you. The first thing you can do is pray. Now see, immediately we go, oh yeah, I know that. So why don't you do it? Okay, hang in there. I know this Papa Jim corrected. We don't like to be corrected. Because, why don't we do it? Because it goes back to this feeling like, I'm not sure, or I don't see, or maybe I don't believe, hi Amber, that my efforts make an impact. You've heard me tell the story about the young man, I won't go into the whole thing, but Steve, who prayed about human trafficking, and then the Lord literally allowed him to look into heaven in a dream, and Jesus showed him what his prayers about human trafficking did to rescue some of those kids. Now, normally we don't get to see that. If I give $100 to somebody's crisis need, I don't really know what happened to that. I don't know. But you know what? I'm not thinking about man. Okay, I mean, I want them to be fiscally responsible as well. But you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about the widow's mite. I'm thinking about that woman. I'm thinking about the God who's watching over what I do. The loaves and the fishes. The widow's mite. Okay? I'm thinking about having faith, okay, that he sees what I'm doing and he will do something, whether I ever see it or not. And frankly, most of the time we won't. So there are practical things you can do. You can be involved. Now, I know most of you are on the West Coast. You really can't do any of these things, okay? But there are practical things you can do. You can join a crew to clean up. You can deliver food to centers of resource, so on. You can give finances, okay? You can donate money. There's lots you can do. If you cannot do any of those things, let's say you're dead broke, you live far away and there's no way you could actually get there, so you can't give money and you can't give your time, you can pray. Now listen to me, you can pray like Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said. I am so impressed with him. he said, we're not looking for the kind of like our thoughts and prayers are with you. We're looking for people who will get on their knees and pray. He actually said that. The leader of a whole state of millions of people. I am so proud of him. Because you don't say that. That's not a cliche that everybody, He said, no, we want you to get down on your knees and pray. You can do that. Unless you don't feel like what you're doing will matter. Then you won't do it. If you don't think it will matter, you won't do it. That's my second little thing. First of all, I said, okay, I'm going to say it again. If you think there's nothing you can do, you will do nothing. Saying number two, Jim isn't number two. If you think what you do doesn't matter, you won't do it. If you think what you do, what you can do, won't matter, you probably won't do it. How about getting on Facebook and encouraging people to pray? I'm not just talking about getting some kind of a sick, entertainment out of people's suffering. That's not what I'm talking about. But you can, if it weren't for that, well, I'm not going to say that. There's something you can do. You can pray. If you know anyone who's been affected, you can reach out to them. Well, it won't matter. That's why you don't do it. Okay? Well, it won't make that much of a difference. That's why you won't do it. You get what I'm saying? You got to quit telling yourself that. And God, I started with the parable of the guys that had talent. This guy had a lot of talent, big impact. He was faithful. Guy had, in the halfway point, had less, so it was like 10 and 5 and 1. The 5, he thought, well, I can make some kind of an impact. He did something with it. Who didn't do anything? The one who said it won't matter. The one who said, I can't do anything. What can I do? Okay. I know I sound like I'm being sarcastic, but I'm trying to drive this point home to you. You will not stand before God and say, God, I just couldn't do anything. I didn't know what to do. He'd say, what about that phone that's in your hand? How about you texting someone? How about you texting Jim Moore and saying, thank you, Jim Moore, for waking us up? You know what I'm saying? There's always somebody. And if you will pray and ask God, He'll show you. All right, so let me just end right here. The Bible does say that we are supposed to rejoice with those who rejoice. We love that one. That's good. Weep with those who weep. Okay. Everything that we do, if it's done for God, with God, in the name of God, will produce results that many times you won't even see. But you can still believe it. Because again, if you don't believe it, you won't do it. All right, so again, pray for everybody. I think I've covered everything here. Let me go through my notes real quick. I think I have almost done. Oh, I did put a couple links on here. Now, one link that I put on here was, and I think I messed up the link, but it is the local. Now, they're good agencies. A couple right off the top of my head, Samaritan's Purse, one of the best agencies out there. They're already here. They're already on. There are plenty of agencies you could donate money to if that is the thing you were able to do. And again, well, I only got $20. Who cares? Are you the widow that can only give a penny? Okay, you get what I'm saying? These are incorrect mindsets. They really are. They really are. Okay, because it's not the dollar amount. It is the God who's watching over the dollar. It's the God who's watching over your heart. All right. So there's a link on here. I'll try to make sure it works. Oftentimes, for whatever reason, these links wind up not working. All you got to do is message me. If you're watching this on Facebook, you can message me on Facebook. Okay. Unless I blocked you, in which case you won't be seeing this program. Okay. And none of you were blocked. So you can, if the links don't work, okay, don't take, I'm really hitting them today. Don't take that as a sign that you're not supposed to watch it. Okay, we do this. Okay. Oh, the link was broken. Maybe I'm not supposed to watch it. Oh, hall pass. Okay. Same way with this one. This is a group local called ARK, A-R-K. Great group. I've met them personally. I'm sure they're not doing everything right. I don't care. Okay. I'm not going to use that as an excuse, but they're one that you can give money to, and they will do a great job. Actually, it's a collection of churches that run this ministry, doing a great job. So remember, you're a vessel for God to pour through. It's not how much money you have. It's not how good a singer you are. It's not any of those things. It's not how much time you can give. Okay? I'm going to go down, and if all I can do is, organize boxes. I'm going to do it because God's watching. And God's the one that can make a difference. All right. I got to be done. So thanks for tuning in today. I hope this helped you. It was not my intention to beat anybody up or kind of shame you into doing that. No, but we still need to know the truth. We still need to know, Estella, God bless you, what God says. And that's my job, is to tell you what I believe, according to the Bible, what God says about situations. So please keep praying. I'm going to say what Dan Patrick said. Get on your knees and pray and believe God to do something, even if you don't see it. All right, more updates to come. Thank you for loving us. Thanks you for, taking care of those you can take care of. And God bless you, and use those links, help in whatever way you can. And the very, very least you can do is pray. Amen. God bless. Give yourself permission to have a great day. Bye-bye.